Morning, everybody. Jason Russell. It's been a couple of days since I recorded a market update for you guys, so I wanted to do that this morning and just kind of go over a couple pieces of news. So the thing that's been on a lot of people's minds, I've been getting a lot of texts, emails, calls from clients asking about this whole forbearance situation, part of the CARES Act that the government says, you can defer your payments for up to 12 months through the forbearance process. Now, the first thing they said was that there's not going to be any sort of negative impact to your credit report. Now, the point that I'll make there is, while that's great in theory, whenever they're rolling something like this out really fast, there's bound to be some issues. So the first issue that I came across from a colleague of mine was this. This is a credit report. I've obviously taken out all the sensitive information. But what you can see on this credit report snippet is we've got account in forbearance. Okay, so that is someone who took advantage of this CARES Act. And the big factor you're going to see here is we've got a 30-day late payment from the forbearance, the thing that they said was not supposed to happen. And yet here we are. So this is bound to happen. This is going to happen. It's going to be one of those situations where things are moving so quickly with these big servicers and these big banks that mistakes are going to happen. So the reason I'm pointing this out to you is that it's really important that you keep an eye on your credit report right now if you are going to be taking advantage of these forbearance options, because this is not supposed to happen, but it obviously is happening. And if it is happening, you need to reach out to your servicer and let them know. And the only way you're going to know that is if you monitor your credit. So while I am, I hate the idea of credit karma. In this case, not from a score perspective, but from an activity perspective, it may not be the worst kind of thing. My favorite credit monitoring service is myfico.com, but that costs money and times are tight right now. So if you don't want to go that route, that's fine. So just keep an eye on your credit, please, 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 if you're going to take one of these forbearance options. Now, talking a little bit more about the idea of forbearance and some of what could happen in terms of solving the forbearance at the end of whatever period you decide to take, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. From what I'm hearing from most servicers, they're starting with a 3-month option. And then at the end of the 3 months, you can request an extension depending on what's happening with this whole coronavirus situation. And they're giving, various different options, and it's not a one-size-fit-all option in terms of the solve. So the worst case scenario for you as a consumer is that at the end of your forbearance period, you have to come up with all of the payments that you missed at once. That nobody's going to want to do that, but that is what they could ask for technically. The other options that they could throw out there is they could stretch those 3 payments over the next year, and you slowly make up those missed payments by increasing your normal payment over a year. That's harder to, that's not easy to do, but it's certainly easier than coming up with all your missed payments at once. And then finally, the option that may be out there, depending on what type of loan type you have, specifically if you have an FHA loan, is you may have the ability to move those payments to the very end of the loan. Now, this is not available on a conventional loan. A conventional loan is one backed by Fannie or Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So that option is not there at the moment for those loans, which is frankly the majority of the loans that we see out there right now are conventional loans. So just be really cognizant of that. I'm hoping that will change. Mark Calabria, the head of the FHFA, which is the government agency that oversees the conservatorship of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that they were put in conservatorship in 2008 when the mortgage market was blowing up. He has been very unwilling to do anything as far as this goes and really offer relief to servicers and then offer relief to borrowers in a lot of cases. So he's starting to get some pressure from bipartisan pressure, I should mention, from both sides of the aisle from Congress. So maybe, hopefully, that there'll be some change there. But if you've got a conventional loan, I would be preparing for your worst case scenario if you're going to take a forbearance, and that is that whatever missed payments you're going to have are going to be due at the end of that period, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And then from there, best case scenario right now is that they'll spread those payments over 12 months. So what I'm saying is, if you need a forbearance, take it, right? If you need the help, take the help. But if you do not, and you just want to, hey, I'm going to skip a payment, don't do that because it's going to bite you later. So that's it as far as forbearance. Quick touch on the markets. This is kind of the beginning of when we ran into the coronavirus, got really, really serious, and then, market volatility. You can see this is the market move on average, on a day-to-day basis. And then all of a sudden you got these monster swings. And then the Federal Reserve came out and said, hey, we're going to step in, we're going to start buying some mortgage-backed securities, which generally for a consumer is good because it helps to improve interest rates. And we started going up, and this chart up is good for rates. So rates would get lower as the chart goes up. The problem is, and I've talked about this at length in other videos, is we started to see margin calls on the lending side, and mortgage companies were put into a really, really tough position in this window as far as all the money that was coming due with these servicing problems, margin calls, all kinds of stuff that was going on. Well, we got to about here, and then, a lot of the experts in the mortgage industry went to the Federal Reserve and said, hey, we need you to, pull back on this. I know you're trying to help, but you're actually doing more harm than good. And so at that point, they started to pull back the amount that they were buying in terms of mortgage-backed securities on a day-to-day basis. And you can see, we've slowed down quite a bit, right? We've kind of been in this little range, which is exactly the breather that the mortgage industry needed during this period. So they've been doing a little bit of Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold over the past couple of weeks, which is great. I'm glad to see that they got the message and are reacting in a way that's good for everybody. So the only point that I would make, I've been telling this to a lot of my clients who've been asking about refinancing, is the rate sheets that you're seeing from mortgage companies are still not as good as they should be, because they've got a huge pipeline that they're working through, from this window right here, when rates got really good for the first time and everybody wanted to refinance. Those refinances take 30 to 45 days to close, and they need to get through that. They've got all their staff working from home. There's just a lot. So, they've kind of turned the spigot off. They don't want much business right now, frankly. And because of that, their rate sheets are not priced appropriately as they should be. So what I've been advising folks is, hey, if you can wait, I would say we're probably 4 to 6 weeks out at this point until you start to see rates improve. But I think that rates will improve, and we'll get to a point where rates will actually end up at all-time lows. But that's if you can be patient. If you're eager to get something done now, certainly can do it. But if you are in a position to be patient, I think that there could certainly be some room for improvement. So hopefully that gives you an update. If you have questions, please let me know, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.